Good evening. We are going to start the third lecture of Chrysalis 2021-2022. As we all know, Chrysalis is a commemorative lecture series wherein each week a research scholar will be presenting a theory or an idea from his or her area of research, and an interactive session will follow which will enlighten us more on the topic presented. Today's presenter will be Hema S., our part-time PhD research scholar, and she will be talking to us on literary gerontology. Now, from this week, we are introducing a new feature to Chrysalis, which is bringing in eminent personalities who can give inputs in the form of chairing the session, and also giving their valuable inputs into our research areas. Today, we have one such eminent personality with us, a senior academician and a very resourceful researcher, Dr. Usha K. Let me give you a very brief introduction to Dr. Usha. She has retired as Associate Professor from the Department of English at NSS College, Palam. She is also the research supervisor with Kerala Varma College with the University of Calicut, Bharatiyar University and Kerala Kalamandalam. Presently, she is also working as guest faculty at SNGC College, Natika. She has presented several papers in many colleges and universities, some of which include places like IIT Madras, Symbiosis, LitCrit, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, Cochin University, Acharya Nagarjuna University, Satyabhama University, Berhampur University, University of Mumbai, CLAI, University of Calicut, and the list goes on. She has 25 publications to her credit in various journals, and some of the official posts that she has held include as a member of PG Board of Studies in the University of Calicut, a member of the Faculty of Languages in University of Calicut, member of the Board of Studies at Karpagam Deemed University at Coimbatore, and she has also served as a subject expert for regular appointments in various colleges. And I'm sure that these are just a few feathers that of which there are more to add to her crown. Dr. Usha, we are really honored that you are with us. Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you, Arya, for your good words. There is no more to add to the feathers. That's all. First of all, may I thank the English department, especially my dearest friend Bessie, then Miss Arya of Chrysalis, for making me a part of this program. I'm deeply touched by the thought behind the series, as all the dear departed teachers who are commemorated are known to me for years. I especially remember Dhanya, who was a good friend of mine. Today's lecture will be given by Hema S., who works in my college and is a scholar in your college, and I know to be a very committed person to profession and academics. Shall we start the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Betsy?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Hi, Betsy. A word about today's topic, revisiting texts with literary gerontology. That is the topic, I suppose. Gerontology is a multidisciplinary study of aging. In the next few years, the percentage of aging population is going to be rapidly multiplying. This fact adds to the relevance of the topic. As age and aging are cultural concepts, the investigation of the complexities of the age of ego integrity, as Erikson calls it, can be made using various disciplines related to gerontology. Literary gerontology grew from the fascination of literary scholars to explore aging. Early attempts in this genre contain imposing claims and generalizations regarding aging, as in Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. Older people were often portrayed as a blurry, homogeneous group according to the established notions representing old age. Later, alternative visions of old age found light as in the character of Elinor in Wolfe's The Years. King and Macmillan argue that literature cannot be seen as a direct mirror of old age or as a superficial explanation for a given story. Using tools like critical gerontology, interrogations can be made into how age, along with gender and ethnicity, interact to shape the story, how the story relates to other stories, how the known stories can be challenged, changed, and retold. Simone de Beauvoir noted the othering of older women. Stories of age and aging can be delightful when they are contextualized and when fiction becomes part of a cultural discourse. These and various other aspects related to literary gerontology might be discussed by Hema in her lecture. Over to Hema. Thank you.
Very good afternoon to all. Very thank you, Usha ma'am. I'm very happy to see you, ma'am.
Me too,
I
Hema.
don't know. You remember me?
Sure,
It was only once I saw you.
I'm not that aged. Gerontology.
Okay, ma'am. I should move on to my
Just a moment,
presentation.
Hema. There is an echo somewhere. Are you using two devices? Or do you have another phone nearby?
Yes, ma'am. I will mute it.
Mute it.
Okay. Uh, okay.
Yeah, now I think
my
it's okay.
Okay, ma'am. My presentation will be in the order. I will first say about the evolution of gerontology, then how literary gerontology evolved from the sociological perspectives of gerontology. Then I will introduce an essay of Anne White Brown on how literary gerontologists work. And I conclude by delineating about the recent trends in literary gerontology. And I shall to my presentation. I will share the screen. Okay.
Hema ma'am, are you speaking? Your microphone is switched off. Can you switch on your microphone?
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, my topic for today's lecture is revisiting text with literary gerontology. By the later, I shall first say about the origin of gerontology. By the later half of 19th century, after postmodernist trends and postmodernist criticism, race, culture, gender has been explored to form pluralities of meaning from literary texts. And to this, one aspect got added, like age. So the sociologist and cultural scientist of postmodern, post-industrial revolution era, they considered age as a cultural entity that must be studied like culture, race, and gender. Moreover, the technological innovations and medical and the application of technological innovations to the field of medicine increase the lifespan of individuals. Especially in USA, there's a rapid increase in the number of gray population, now the aged people beyond 60, all over the world, especially in USA. So the cultural scientists and sociologists all were concerned about new issues of the aged, like post-retirement policies, old age homes, about their rehabilitation in old age nursing homes, then age abuse, ageism, and age stereotypes prevalent in society. And another historical factor which led to the growth of aging studies is, as I said earlier, is the post-industrial revolution scenario. And there were so many retired people with with economically low resources, physically weak, and socially deprived, as a socially deprived group. So the government tend to make new policies on their rehabilitation. And in the field of sociology, age has been explored as a cultural phenomenon. Age as the property of an individual and of society. And in our society, as race, gender, and our language, these are some cultural concepts which determine the performance and activities of individuals. And age is another cultural aspect, another determining factor which is used to determine the performance of individuals. Like we have, like in sociology, we have age-appropriate behavior and some age standards. Society or the so-called culture set some age for everything, every events in our life. For example, there is an age for schooling, there is an age to get married, there is an age to retire. And when someone goes beyond this age norms, are considered as outcast or performing some age inappropriate behavior. And this led to the study of how age determines the life and other cultural aspects in society, and especially in an individual, in a social group, and the whole society and community as a whole. And literary gerontology is an interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary field of study which incorporates the notions of age and ageism from sociology and psychology into the field of literary analysis. So when we talk about the evolution of literary gerontology, earliest discussions on aging started when Stanley Hall published his work Senescence, the second half of life, in 1922. And to Hall, aging is an inevitable stage in the life of an individual, a stage in which all faculties, all capabilities of a human being are in a stage
Excuse
of
me,
decline.
Hema, I don't know whether it is my problem from this side, but still, can you be a bit more louder?
Okay, ma'am.
Your voice is slightly soft.
Okay.
There is some
Make your
disturbance, I think. Some disturbance in audio, that's why.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, am I more audible now?
Slightly better. Can you make your voice a little bit more louder?
Okay, ma'am.
And if there is a fan going on, please switch it off, and then it will be better, I think.
Okay. Okay, am I clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, better. Yes.
Okay. So about the evolution of literary gerontology, earliest discussions on aging started with Stanley Hall's work Senescence, the second half of life, published in 1922. Then Hall took aging as a period of decline, a gradual decline, which is a slow process which ends in death. And he gave a very bleak, a kind of negative image of aging. And then it was during 1975, there was a conference on human values and aging conducted by David Van Tassel of Case Western Reserve University. And the proceedings of this conference were published in 1979, in which Erik Erikson, then Leon Edel, Leslie Fielder, several renowned psychologists and sociologists published their papers. And Erikson's analysis of Bergman's film Wild Strawberries and Leon Edel and Leslie Fielder's works, the works they published on aging and literature, were highly popular during that time. And this actually started discussions on the relation between literary aspects of aging, literary representation of aging, and how gerontological theories, sociological and psychological aging theories, can be used to analyze texts, and how writers represented aging in their works. And from then onwards, age and aging are considered as two new paradigms for cultural construction. And all these movements started in America, in USA, and the Gerontological Society of America, they published a journal, The Gerontologist, and the
And these essays all got published in the first volume of the Gerontologist. And literally speaking, this when we search the history of literary gerontology, this conference and the publication of these works inaugurated the movement literary gerontology. And the focus of gerontology is on successful aging, how we can provide a successful aging experience to an individual, and how the prevalent notions of aging, like aging, the period after 60, or when one retire from their profession, and when one so that he can remain passive, and he can contemplate his afterlife, and he or she may be contemplating about the inevitable end. All these notions got turned, and how these writers represented the later life, or they perpetuated the stereotypical images of aged, and what are the experiences of an aged person, or how it is like to be aged. These are the questions that literary gerontologists look in literary texts. And Anne White Brown, her article, "The Coming Age of Literary Gerontology," says about the ways gerontologists work. And when we read literary gerontological theories, we must quote Simone de Beauvoir, in which she...
Hema, I don't know, still your voice is very soft. I don't know whether it is my problem. Can you make it I think even if you raised your voice, it will be better.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, please.
Okay. It was Anne White Brown, in her article, "The Coming Age of Literary Gerontology." The work says about how a gerontologist, or how gerontologists work. And before moving to that essay, I should quote on Simone de Beauvoir. In her very encompassing work, "The Coming of Age," Beauvoir talks about the philosophical, historical, and the othering, as Usha ma'am said, the othering of the aged. And in that work, she makes a comment: if the hero of a novel is an aged person, there is nothing more to say about him. There is nothing to happen in his life. He is totally complete. There is nothing more a writer can say about the life of an aged protagonist. So with the coming of these literary gerontological or gerontological theories, this notion is questioned radically. And by the later half of, or by the 20th century, especially in Europe, there were so many fictional writers who concentrated their fictional works, on the midlife and late life of a protagonist. And Constance Rook and Margaret Gullett, two critics, they came up with two kinds of fiction, Wolding's roman and Raffen's roman. Wolding's roman indicates Reitner's novel about late life, about the accomplishments, the achievements, the self-realization one achieves at the later stage of life, especially after 70s. Then Dreyfus' roman is a kind of a fiction which deal about the midlife of an individual, the midlife progress novel. This is what Margaret meant by Dreyfus' roman. And it is about a group of protagonists who have completed their 60 years of life, and their life from 60 onwards, they find new meanings, their responsibilities towards their family, towards their children are complete, and they find themselves free, liberated, and making their own choices, making their own professional or career developments during a stage when government declares that 60 years of age is a time to retire from a profession or a career. So these are some other aspects of literary gerontology. So when coming to the essay, The Coming Age of Literary Gerontology, White Brown divides gerontologists and their ways of analysis into 5 categories. First one is attitudes towards aging, then humanistic gerontology, psychoanalytic interpretation of aging, application of gerontological theories to life reviews and autobiographies, then studies on the creative process. Then the first one is attitude towards aging. In this kind of literary gerontological analysis, the critics try to focus on common trends in the representation of elderly characters. And the critics focused on children's literature. And the literary outputs in this category, they are like a review on literary texts. The aesthetic aspects of literary texts are ignored, and these critics they are concerned with how aging is how the concept, how the phenomenon of aging is represented in the selected works, like whether it is a balanced view of aging, whether it is a very negative representation of aging, or whether the works they studied perpetuated the negative stereotypical images prevalent in society. And the critics, they were quite doubtful when they wrote their critical works, that when they analyzed these texts, they find that most of the texts said about the negative, decadent, decline, degenerated aging than positive ones. So this aspect says about a review of literary works, whether how a writer represents age and aging and through their works. Then next is humanistic gerontology. It combines literature with history, religion, philosophy, and arts. This is a complex analysis of literary texts. And Kathleen Woodward is an American gerontologist and a professor. She is one of the most prolific writer in humanistic gerontology about literature. And the aim of humanistic gerontology was to create an ageless society, new old age. So they combined the historical, religious, and philosophical aspects of aging into the study of literary texts. One example of humanistic gerontological analysis is David Bronson's Consuming Struggle versus Killing Time, Preludes to Dying in the Dramas of Ibsen and Beckett. Another way of analysis is psychoanalytic interpretation, which is a growing field in literary gerontology. And in this kind of analysis, psychoanalytic concepts of Freud, Jung, Erikson, and Lacan are used. And there are three subtypes according to the question a literary gerontologist raises while analyzing the text. First one is evidence of creativity and transcendence in old age. And this kind of analysis used life stage theories of Jung and Erikson. Especially Erikson said that the latest is he divided the life of an individual into 8 stages, and the last stage Erikson says it is the stage to contemplate the life of an individual. The life review provided during the last stage of life as a rich source of the life course events happened, or how an individual uses life events of his own to make the later life more meaningful and more fruitful. And Kathleen Woodward's 1980 work, May Sarton and Fictions of Old Age, is a work that explored creativity and transcendence in old age. And then it also analyzed how will aging enhances creativity in a writer or the protagonist presented in the story. And most of the studies in this category find that old age can increase the creativity among the writers or the protagonist concerned in the text. And one problem about this theory is that this kind of analysis is that the psychoanalytical theories these literary gerontologists use, they got refined when the theories...
Just a minute, Hema, please.
Okay.
Is it my problem alone, or are the others be able to hear? I find the voice very soft. Please put in your observation, please.
Betsy ma'am, I think you can increase the volume of your system. Maybe it will be
I couldn't hear you, Arya.
I think she's audible. Betsy.
Okay.
But voice is breaking. That's a problem. Maybe there's a problem in range or something like that.
There may be some problem with my internet.
Yeah, maybe there is no internet properly. Voice is audible, but it is breaking in between, that's all.
Okay.
Anyway,
From
carry
my
on.
side,
From my
it's
side, it's very soft. Okay. Ma'am, shall I continue?
Can you do something about it, like change the system, or is the internet very weak there? Is that the problem?
Could you hear when I was speaking, Betsy?
Yes.
Yes.
But I can
When
hear
I
you
was-
very clearly. Usha.
Okay. So there was probably some problem in her internet connection.
I think so. Hema, you're audible, but you're very soft. That's what.
Okay.
But maybe she can't help it now.
Ma'am,
If it is internet problem.
trying my best.
Do you know any place where you have more range in the house? So maybe you can
This is
move
the
to that
usual
place.
place I
This is the
sit
usual
when
place
I
I sit when I
Okay, okay.
arrange online classes.
arrange online classes.
So maybe she can continue, Betsy.
Okay then. Okay then.
Okay then.
Please continue,
Okay.
Hema.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, we have been discussing on the psychoanalytic exploration of a literary gerontology. So the next category is exploration of writer's psyche. And in this, the critics try to find out writer's psyche and its relationship to the problem of aging that appear in literary texts, or either they look for some case studies of aged persons. One of such studies is Norman Holland's study of Little Hans, one of Freud's case study. Then another work is Kathleen Woodward and Muriel Schwartz's Memory and Desire, published in 1986. Then another psychoanalytical exploration is the Phenomenology of Aging, in which aging, the mirror stage propounded by Lacan, is used to analyze aging of the protagonist. And the critics find that the mirror image, the aged characters tend to avoid their mirror image to escape from the notions of ravages of time. And again, Kathleen Woodward's work, The Mirror Stage of Old Age, then Ellie Sullivan Ragland's The Phenomenon of Aging in Oscar Wilde's Picture of Dorian Gray, a Lacanian view. In this work, in Sullivan's work, it is said that Oscar Wilde's homoerotic impulses are a kind of projection of his fear of getting aged. Then the fourth way of analysis is application of gerontological theories to life reviews and autobiographies. So life review of an individual is taken as the source of life history. So when an individual reviews his or her life, he reviews it not according to the positive aspects of life, but all the events, all the incidents, both positive and negative, that have happened to him, and there is a tendency, and it is something natural to older persons to review their past. And this life review, it is like a catalyst that adds meaning, or that helps older individuals to correct or make better their earlier or their later life, and rectify their earlier problems they made in their life. And it was Robert Butler who said about the life reviews and the advantages of life reviews, that it helps older persons to review their life and to reshape and revive their life accordingly. And one such work which concentrated on the life review of the protagonist is The Stone Angel by Margaret Lawrence, and there is an essay by Constance Rook, Hagar's Old Age, The Stone Angel as Woldring's Roman. And I think The Stone Angel is a familiar work to all of us. And Hagar is presented as a very old lady, a typical old woman we can find in our household, in our home, or in our society. And how her behavior, how her character nature changes from the beginning of the novel to the end. The transformation she underwent is a kind of it is a kind of self-realization, a kind of self-exploration, and she realizes she realizes her mistakes. It is her ego that created all problems in her life, and she transforms her character in the later stage when she is about to meet death, and that's how the novel ends. So we cannot find much works concerning about the late life presented as a period of self-discovery and self-realization. So this kind of fiction created such a new genre, Romance novels and midlife progress novels. Then the fifth way is autobiographies and creative process over the lifespan. So there is another group of scholars who search for autobiographical elements of fiction, especially concerning the creative process. For example, Margaret Gallett's work Safe at Last in the Middle Years, the invention of midlife progress novel. Then in this way of analysis, autobiographies, then biographies are taken as sources to analyze the work of a writer and the life of a writer to provide some evidences for the creative process over their lifespan and whether their age increased their creativity, enhanced their creativity, etc. So these are some ways by which literary gerontologists work according to Anne White-Brown. And literary gerontology as a critical way of analyzing literary responses, it also explores other issues of postmodern society like aging, Black, feminist perspectives, ethnicity, concerns of transgenders, LGBTQ groups, etc. This is about literary gerontology, the theory literary gerontology. And now I shall say about recent trends in gerontology. One major or prominent movement of literary gerontology is towards critical gerontology. And it was Harry R. Moody, a sociologist and gerontologist, who propounded the term critical gerontology. And it is a kind of postmodern outlook on aging, following the thoughts of Frankfurt School and the philosophy of Habermas. And this Frankfurt School, they focused on the sociological aspects of individual, like culture, race, ethnicity, gender, how these sociological and cultural concepts can be used to promote democratic values in society and to provide a better life to all people. And that concepts have been taken by critical gerontology, and their focus was on productive aging. And these critical gerontologists are concerned with problems of emancipation of older people from old dominations and to identify the possibility for social change. So the questions like ageism is a concept like racism, when one is marginalized on the basis of age. Especially, we can find in the new professional scenario that aged people are critically examined when concerning about their performances in their career and in their professional life. So, how ageism, concerning about how ageism, the negative stereotyping of age, then age abuse can be eradicated, can be reduced from the society, and also these critical gerontologists, they critiqued the focus of earlier gerontologists like Robert and Butler's the concept of successful aging. Successful aging, Robert and Butler says about successful aging, in which it is a kind of idealistic image of old age, or a kind of aging experience where everything is favorable for the aged individuals, and this concept is critiqued in critical gerontology, and this critical gerontology tries to unmask the conflicts and contradictions that lie behind the superficial harmony of ideas represented by earlier gerontologists. Their notion of idealistic positive aging is criticized by critical gerontologists. And there is, and this critical gerontology, there is a more radical analysis of critical gerontology, that is analyzing aging from left-wing position. That constitutes another aspect of critical gerontology, radical gerontology, working on Marxian principles and aspects of and Marxist analysis of society and aging. Then the revival of humanistic gerontology and addressed new issues using the philosophy of humanities like life goals, life reviews, how life goals and life reviews can be a valuable source for understanding age. Then about aging persons and their physical and social environment. Aging in place is a concept forwarded by environmental gerontology, and environmental gerontology focuses on the importance of place, the place where one finds it suitable to spend their later life, whether it is home, whether it is an old age nursing home, whether it is some other place like that. So the objective, the focus of critical gerontology and recent gerontological studies is to revisit the moral dimensions of old age and to understand unsuccessful aging is also a possibility. So the successful aging propagated by the earlier gerontologists, these critical gerontology questioned the positive, the always positive portrayal tendency among earlier gerontologists. And the critical gerontological studies focused on unsuccessful aging to provide a democratic kind of analysis towards the literary and both sociological perspectives of gerontology. And this is about the recent trends in literary gerontology.
Thank you, Hema.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hema has given a thoroughly investigated lecture on various aspects and new thoughts regarding the relatively novel topic, literary gerontology. Congratulations. Now the floor is open for discussions. All are requested to participate.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please ask questions if anyone wants to.
Hema ma'am, can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, this is Aryan. Ma'am, I wanted to get a clarification regarding whether literary gerontology is in some way related to medical humanities, or is literary gerontology a subgenre, something like that, under medical humanities? Are they both related? Can you enlighten me on that?
Literary gerontology is, as far as I am concerned, literary gerontology is a sociological way of analyzing age and aging. And in medical humanities, there is a subgenre, geriatrics, biogeriatrics, and geriatrics, which analyzes the medical biological aspects of age and aging. So I think literary gerontology is more sociological in its concern.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Hema, I have it's not a doubt actually. Maybe you have got an idea about it, but it's about saying that it is included in children's literature. You have mentioned it in your PPT.
Okay, ma'am.
Can you just enlighten me on that? How have you, why have you used that aspect?
When I read articles on literary gerontology, I found that in fairy tales, and especially which are oriented to children. For example, the story of Snow White, or the Sleeping Beauty. In that, the queen is represented as an aged figure who ill-treats the princess. Then, when we maybe it is a cultural representation, especially what we find in European fairy tales. But when I made a similar kind of analysis to the works oriented to children, I find that the story Mayavi, ബാലരമയിലുള്ള മായാവിയില് ഡാഗിനി, ഒരു ദുർമന്ത്രവാദിനിയായിട്ടുള്ള ഡാഗിനി ഒരു അമ്മൂമ്മയാണ്. ആൻഡ് അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു അതൊരു എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു നമ്മുടെ ഒരു ജനറേഷൻ ഒരു സ്റ്റോറിയായി ജനറേഷൻസ് ബൈ ജനറേഷൻ വായിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സ്റ്റോറിയാണ്, ഒരു സ്റ്റോറി സീരീസാണ് മായാവി. അപ്പൊ അതില് ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് റെപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. രാജുവിനെ രാധയും എപ്പോഴും മായാവിയെ എപ്പോഴും അപകടപ്പെടുത്താൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടർ. അതൊരു അമ്മൂമ്മയാണ്, ഒരമ്മൂമ്മയും അപ്പൂപ്പനും. ഒരു കുട്ടൂസരും ഡാഗിനിയും അവർ വളരെ ഏജ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു 2 പേരാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള representations, it is there in directed towards children.
Okay.
So I think this argument is valid.
Yeah, it's clear now. Okay.
Hema, miss, I have a question
Okay.
related to ageism. Is aging a feminist issue? So women actually face many problems in old age, like loneliness, then there is threat of illness, hospitalization, and there are some beauty standards all over the world too, which can be very brutal, as older women can no longer conform to these unrealistic standards, and they are cast off as someone undesirable and unworthy of it. So, do you think women are more vulnerable to this problem of ageism and such kind of stereotypes?
Ageism is a thing that is faced by both old men and women. And what gerontologists say is that women handle this ageism more and practically than men. And men tend to be the old men, especially the widower, tend to be more lonely than a widow, and move to the later stage of life. This beauty standards, the physical aspects of the physical appearance, all these get transcended, and they look a life in such a state. What older people look for is companionship, or for a self-satisfying experience of aging. And ageism, the age is all as far as I am concerned, ages by men and women. And from my studies, what I understood is that ageism is a phenomenon which old men cannot or old men cannot handle as good as old women.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello, Hema. How it is discussed in literary texts, isn't it?
Pardon, ma'am.
How
Hello,
aging
Hema.
is.
I do have a question to first. So I would like to know how important is popular media representations in aging, and there are hardly many meaningful roles for actors, especially women in media. So do you think, viewed in the context of gerontology, there has to be more visibility for them to dispel the stereotypes about them, and to express themselves as equally capable, just like the youth? And I would like to know how important it is, how important is popular media in the representations of aging?
Popular media can enhance to create a positive outlook on age among youth, because all of us, if we get a boon to preserve our youth, we all are happier. But what in media, there is gerontology, social aspects of gerontology, they criticize the representation of age in media, like especially the US, the American standards of beauty, like the fair skin, then the beauty standards, the slim features, like like that. So I think this gerontology can, when it is, it can provide a very good analysis, very critical analysis on how media represents aging, aging and especially aged women. So this when we analyze a representation of aged individuals or aging in media, we get a kind of a negative representation, like in advertisements or in other programs that are telecasted through television or other medium that aged is often represented as something subsidiary to the youth. So I think there is
Thank you,
scope
Hema.
of
Sorry for
critical
interrupting.
gerontology. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. It's getting too late. I will give you one more minute after Ms. Julie's response. So I'm sorry for doing this, but since most of us are, well, short of time, please adjust. Julie, I will just ask Julie to say a response which she has already prepared.
Good evening. Good evening to one and all. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Hello. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, you
Uh, yes, the most honored Betsy ma'am, the star of the events, and Dr. Usha Ravindran, Chair, Hema, who has represented literary gerontology, a new topic, and its most various vistas of understanding. It was definitely an insight for research scholars like us, and the wide range of interpretations and literary concerns throughout literature as well as in literary theory about gerontology, and specifically literary gerontology has provided a wider insight in research. And since it's a very new topic of observation, we have a lot of research possibilities. That's what I understood when Hema was presenting the topic. It is fresh and it is new to all of us, definitely. And a few observations of the age literature. When I went through literary gerontology, I found a few observations which I would like to present if time uh, allows me to do it. Can I, ma'am? Betsy, ma'am?
I think you can say it shortly. And what does the chairperson say?
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
She can, I think she's ready with the topic. She's ready with
Thank you.
me.
Thank
Something.
you.
So please go
Thank you.
ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My perspective is not on literary gerontology as a theory, but as the literature of the aged. And I think it is something new for all of us. And as May Sarton, a Belgian American poet and a memoirist, convey that it is a foreign country with an unknown language, definitely aging and old age and all are something that becomes
Julie,
new,
again,
and
just
it
a moment,
becomes
Julie. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, so sorry for interrupting. I just want to tell the participants that the Google form is posted in the chat box and they can fill it in and submit. Okay, please continue, Julie. Sorry for again
Okay, no problem,
interrupting.
ma'am.
Please.
So it is considered as a foreign country, and definitely the language of the aged is not much familiar to us until we enter into that kind of scenario. And it is very difficult, definitely, for a youth or a youngster to understand what the life of an aged person is. Definitely, the literary texts speak about aging and the later life, and it also represents the fears that are being created among the aged with regard to illness, psychological dilemma, physical changes that occur in a human body when a person is aged, both men and women. The feeling of insecurities created, the uncertainties of life, fear of death, strength, the losing of strength and confidence, memory loss, trauma due to death of the dear ones like spouse, and trauma of treatments and medical assistance, helplessness, feeling of dependency, etc. So all these are the ideas that are being represented, or the concepts that have been observed in the works of the aged literature when observed by the literary gerontologists. And specifically, the literary gerontology was had paved its way into theories during the 1900s, and it was in sociology and psychology and health sciences that it was initially observed. And specifically, the stories of the aged are not new to us. We have been reading literature throughout, and we have characters like King Lear, the trauma of King Lear, the complexities of Prospero, the eccentricities of Charles Dickens' characters in Great Expectation. All these give us the representations of the aged. And what literary gerontologists have observed from these literary characters, that how this concept of aging and the scenario or the life of the aged are being presented, placing them in a cultural, social, and psychological background. And according to Oro Piqueras, aging has been a part of our literary heritage and has become more prominent in texts from the current writings. Specifically, the idea of reading about the aged was given importance during this current century, specifically with the theories that developed simultaneously in all the other disciplines more than in literature or in literary theories. And we have a life writing, like autobiographies, memos, biography, which all give us a first hand representation of the aged. So, life writings can offer an immensely valuable representation of age and aging from the inside rather than as imagined from the outside by a younger writer. I think the idea or the concept of aged can be much more understood from the writings of the aged themselves. As um, we have writer like May Sarton. May Sarton, as I quoted, she's a Belgian American writer. Through her journal, we can find how she fought with breast cancer at the age of 66, and how she overcome, how she was successful in coming out of the so-called trauma of the disease, as well as the trauma of aging. And we have the other perspective of reading of age literature is the works of Philip Roth's memoir, Patrimony, and Blake Morrison's And When Did You Last See Your Father, which explains this is the other side of the aged. It is not about the aged, but about the caretakers of the aged. And this raises the issues like how they looked after the aged, and it also represents the increasing dependency of the aged parents as such. So these works, which we find in recent literature, create a social change in recognizing that aging should also be represented with equal care, like other concepts which are discussed in literature, like child care and life, marriage, love, romance. All these are the various steps of life. At the same time, we have to consider aging also as a very prominent part of literature, and that is what literary gerontologists try to convey through their interpretations and through the various theories presented, analyzing the works of the aged. Thus, the gerontology moves towards a more comprehensive and nuanced understanding of what aging entails. I think this is what my perspective of the literature of the aged can be observed as. But this might be the other side of what Hema has presented. Hema was very much prominent towards the literary perspective or the theoretical perspective of the literature of the aged, and it was a wonderful presentation, Hema. Congratulations, and all the best
Thank you, ma'am.
for your future endeavors, which will definitely come into a very successful and a very useful theoretical observation about the aged in literature. Congratulations, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak about the topic. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Usha, ma'am, for chairing this session. Thank you, Betsy, ma'am.
Thank you, Julie. It was very insightful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Usha ma'am, for chairing this session and for sharing your views on literary gerontology. Julie ma'am, for saying the assumptions on literary gerontology, the application level. Thank you, ma'am, Julie ma'am, for being the respondent. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you.
Usha ma'am, let me take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of all the research scholars of the Department of English of Psychoanalytic College. Your presence itself has been very delightful to us. You enriched the session in true sense, and thank you for your patience. I know that we have slightly overstepped the time. Thank you for bearing with us. And we hope to associate with you. Thank you so much.
Sure. It would be very interesting. I would also like to share other platforms with you in future. All the best for your Chrysalis.
You should.
For your future endeavors of Chrysalis. And all the research scholars come out in flying colors. You're all very intelligent and very promising scholars. So all the best for the department, for the research center. Thank you all for calling me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And a such a great thank you for this. And I hope that you will join us more frequently. Either as a chair or as an invited speaker once.
As a chair or a bench or in any way.
Anyway, it is such an enlightening session, especially with your warm comments insightful ways of presenting the ideas. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Betsy.
shall we wind up now? Arya?
Yes, ma'am, we shall wind up. Hope all of you have filled in the attendance forms. We will meet for the next lecture on next Wednesday. We are having an invited lecture. Okay, thank you and good night.
Thank you, Betsy ma'am.
Okay, it was great, Hema. Your content was very good. The only thing was that the audio was somehow or the other a little bit soft.
I don't know what happened,
Anyway, I
but
hope it benefited everyone. And
but
let me tell the others that even though the session is slightly longer, it is, I hope it is of great use. So that is why I allowed this to continue like this. And I think this should be the, well, pattern. If we have a lot more to say, we can have some more time. The others who want to leave or who have some urgency can leave. Anyway, I'm so glad that still there are so many here, even in the midst of the night. It shows that your talk was
it is also a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity that I got some place to talk about my topic. That I didn't find any any place where I should talk and interact on my theory. So it was a great opportunity for me. Thank you, ma'am.
We should have more such interactive sessions. Okay. So good night, all of you.
Good night,
Goodbye.
Good night, all.
And
Good night, ma'am.
Thank you.